Hello, thank you for joining me for another episode of the Chronicles of a Mad Lab Assistant, a Darker Pygmalion. Today I am recording from the wonderful Gregory School. It is a private school in Tucson, Arizona that has an amazing staff and the most wonderful kids in the city. Okay. Also, this episode is brought to us by my sponsor of the Cumin Club, where you can get 30% off your purchase when you go through checkout and use my promo code of MadLab. The Cumin Club has the most amazing curries and simmering sauces, as well as sides. And because they are freeze-dried, you just add water and it takes 5 minutes to get up a nice, tasty curry or other Indian dish. And this really is authentic Indian. And you can even specify how hot you want it. And it is, and if you do have a food allergy, they will help you choose the items that will help you with your dietary needs. Okay, so today we are having chapter 6. When Edward returned to Arkham, the late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the train station platform where a crate awaited him. The latest shipment from Gore Airships Incorporated. The crate was bulky and cumbersome, yet he signed for it with a steady hand and arranged for its delivery directly to his workshop at Miskatonic University. The liveryman, a burly fellow with a cap pulled low over his brow, accompanied him briefly, ensuring that the crate was placed exactly where Edward desired, beside the trunk of assorted materials that he had acquired just days prior in Boston. Edward was grateful that the workshop was his alone for the moment. The thought of any of his fellow students glimpsing the secret project that he was laboring over was enough to make his skin crawl. He wished to keep this particular endeavor entirely to himself. Once the deliveryman departed, Edward secured the workshop door with a firm turn of the key and made his way back to his modest boarding house, his worn valise swinging at his side. The day's journey had been tiresome, and the prospect of a hot shower and fresh clothes was balm to his weary mind. Though the train ride from Boston had been tolerable, any lengthy travel left him drained. He was thankful now to be back under his own roof. Dinner was a simple fare of chicken and dumplings, eaten at a solitary table beneath the dim glow of a gas lamp. Afterwards, he pulled out his portfolio and carefully reviewed the anatomical sketches he'd gathered for his Automaton design. His shifts at the hospital had afforded him ample opportunity to study human anatomy, the drawings a quiet testament to his dedication. The Sunday evening he remained at the boarding house, devoting himself entirely to refining his design with meticulous care. His inspiration was drawn largely from the form of a female cadaver that he observed in the morgue, a once lifeless figure now gone to her final rest in Plymouth. He was thankful for the resource she had provided. There was no certainty that another such specimen would present itself in time to aid his endeavors. The ephemeral nature of these opportunities weighed on him. Each chance was precious and not to be squandered. As he wandered past the shuttered windows of a medical supply shop one morning, an idea struck him with sudden clarity. Why not create molds from an existing skeleton and cast the bones that he required? Yet it was too early. The doors remained firmly closed and barred against the dawn. Resolving to return later, he made a note of the shop's business hours before continuing on. The skeleton was the first vital component in his project. The professor's stern injunction to produce an original work forbade copying any pre-existing designs, so Edward's ambition was to create an entirely artificial human form from the ground up, beginning with the very bones that would support it. When the medical supply store opened, he purchased a model skeleton and carefully dismantled it, using the individual bones to fashion the molds necessary for casting his own framework. It was painstaking work, for not only the bones but also smaller metal parts such as pulleys and gears required their own bespoke molds. Because secrecy was paramount, he could not conduct this work in the classroom itself. After brief lectures, the professor released students to labor in their personal workshops, a blessing that Edward seized eagerly. He suspected some classmates used the freedom to shirk responsibility, but he had other classes to attend, papers to write, and exams looming ahead. His time was stretched thin, but he persevered. Fortune smiled on him when, having made the molds, he found that he had already reserved the workshop he would need, a space equipped with smelting ovens and all the specialized tools necessary to work with metals. Competition for the workshop was fierce, and he felt a quiet satisfaction knowing that his early initiative had spared him the struggle for time slots later in the term. Ed chose work in the early morning hours to avoid the oppressive heat generated by the furnace. The workshop was silent and still when he arrived, the air thick with the scent of coal and molten metal. He stoked the fire, and soon the furnace roared to life, its fiery glow painting flickering shadows on the walls. One by one, he placed ingots of titanium alloy into the crucible. The metal shimmered red, then white hot, a liquid fire contained only by the crucible's iron walls. Sweat ran freely down his back, beneath his shirt as he tended the furnace, his cotton handkerchief busy wiping the moisture from his brow and upper lip, beneath his thin mustache.